When my marriage fell apart, it felt like losing a piece of myself. Turns out, my wife had been cheating on me for months, maybe longer. The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt even more was how casually she admitted it when I confronted her. "I wasn't happy," she said, like that excused everything. It started small at first, or at least that's how she made it sound. She complained about feeling lonely, about how our lives had become routine after Lily was born. At the time, I thought she was just venting. I didn't realize those complaints were masking something bigger. Then came the late nights at work, the sudden interest in self-care, retreats, the way she stopped wearing her wedding ring. I told myself it was stress, exhaustion, anything but what it really was. But one night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I came home early from a business trip because my flight got rescheduled. When I walked through the door, I heard laughter coming from the bedroom, laughter that wasn't mine or Lily's. My stomach dropped as I pushed open the door and saw her there, with him. Some guy I'd never met before, sitting on our bed like he belonged there. He scrambled to grab his shirt, and she froze, her face pale. For a moment, no one said anything. Then she broke the silence. "It's not what it looks like." "Really?" I snapped, my voice shaking. "Because it looks like you're screwing someone who isn't your husband." She tried to explain, of course. "We weren't doing anything," she insisted, though her flushed cheeks and rumpled sheets told a different story. "You don't understand how lonely I've been." "Lonely? You think that gives you the right to cheat?" "It's complicated," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "You've been so focused on work and Lily. I needed something for myself." That line hit me harder than anything else. Something for herself. As if our family wasn't enough. As if all the sacrifices I'd made to provide for her and Lily didn't matter. We argued for hours that night, yelling and crying until Lily woke up and came into the room, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Seeing her standing there, confused and scared, made me realize we couldn't keep going like this. If we stayed together, it would only hurt her more. So we split up quickly after that. She moved out within the week, leaving me and Lily to pick up the pieces. Suddenly, I found myself navigating life as a single dad, trying to figure out how to be both parents at once. It wasn't easy, especially since Lily was still adjusting to the divorce. She didn't talk much about it, but I could tell she blamed herself. Kids always do. At first, I thought being a full-time parent would give us some kind of fresh start. Lily and I had always been close, but now we were all each other had. So when she suddenly became super excited about going to school, I figured things were finally looking up. This was the same kid who, just 2 weeks before, tried playing dead so she could skip class. Naturally, I asked her what changed. "Oh, I have Mr. Parker for history now," she said. "His class is so fun." I smiled, glad she wasn't hating school anymore. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But then, things started to feel off. Lily began setting her alarm 30 minutes earlier just to pick out the perfect outfit. It wasn't like her. She'd always been fine throwing on the first clean thing she found. One morning I joked, "Are you trying to impress some boy you've got a crush on?" Her face turned bright red. "Don't say that, Mom. I mean, Dad," she yelled, catching herself. That's when I got suspicious. I started paying closer attention to her mood swings. They weren't random. They were tied to Mr. Parker. If he complimented her project, she'd float around the house for hours. But if he ignored her, she'd barely speak and pick at her dinner. So, I decided to test her. "Hey, I've been thinking about moving you out of Mr. Parker's class," I said casually. The silence that followed was deafening. "Why not?" I pressed. She didn't answer, just stood up, grabbed her phone, and stormed off to her room, texting someone before she even reached the stairs. By this point, I was really worried. This wasn't the Lily I knew, the kid who, just 2 months ago, didn't care about anything school-related. And she'd always been an open book. This sudden secrecy meant something was seriously wrong. That night, I crept into her room and went through her phone. I know, it was a huge invasion of privacy. But I had this gut feeling she was in danger. I combed through every messaging app one could find until I stumbled across something awful, an email thread on a backup account she'd made just to talk to him. The last message from him read, Can't wait to see you during my free period tomorrow. My hand started shaking as I opened the thread. What I read made me sick. Mr. Parker was telling my 13-year-old daughter that she was mature for her age, special, and that their connection transcended normal student-teacher relationships. He sent her pictures of gifts he'd give her, and she'd reply saying she'd hide them in her bag. I quietly checked her backpack, and there they were. Expensive makeup, mature outfits, stockings, all gifts from Mr. Parker. I wanted to throw up. What do you do when you realize your daughter is being groomed? The first thing I did was grab my phone and start taking pictures of everything. My instinct was to go straight to the school or the police, but I knew I couldn't. Mr. Parker wasn't just any teacher. His parents donated big money to the school. His brother was the police chief, and his wife sat on the school board. If I reported this, they'd likely bury us. Instead, I started documenting everything. I pretended nothing was wrong while secretly gathering evidence. I began volunteering at the school without Lily knowing, watching how Mr. Parker interacted with her. I took photos of the gifts and backed up the emails to multiple cloud accounts. I also started having conversations with Lily about consent, showing her documentaries where teachers hurt students. She'd often excuse herself halfway through, fidget nervously, or bite her nails. I could tell she was starting to realize the truth. But then came the worst day of my life. One Tuesday, Lily came home early, saying she felt sick. She bolted for the bathroom and stayed there for over an hour. I heard her sobbing uncontrollably. Finally, I convinced her to unlock the door. When I opened it, she was curled up on the floor, shaking. I picked her up and held her tight. Between gasps, she whispered, "He said, if I loved him, I would." I thought I was ready, but it hurt, and he wouldn't stop. That's when she scrambled for the cabinet under the sink, pulling out a pregnancy test. I watched in frozen horror as she held it up. 2 pink lines. My 13-year-old daughter was holding a positive pregnancy test, and the man responsible was her teacher, the same one whose brother ran the police department and whose wife sat on the school board, making decisions about our kids' safety. I hugged Lily tight as she cried into my shoulder. Her whole body shook with each breath. I needed to get her to a doctor immediately, but I had to be smart about it. One wrong move, and Parker's connections would crush us. "Baby, we need to go to urgent care," I whispered, stroking her hair. "I'm going to tell them you have severe stomach pain. Just follow my lead, okay?" Lily nodded weakly against my chest. I helped her to the car, my mind racing. I grabbed everything, the evidence on her phone, the gifts in her bag, the pregnancy test, and shoved it all into my purse. No way was I leaving anything behind that could disappear. At urgent care, I filled out paperwork with shaking hands while Lily curled up in a chair in the waiting room. When they called us back, I told the nurse about sudden, severe abdominal pain and nausea. After examining Lily and running tests, Dr. Lewis pulled me aside while a nurse stayed with my daughter. "Mr. Carter," she said quietly, "the pregnancy test came back positive. Given Lily's age, I'm required to file a report." "Please," I interrupted, my voice cracking. "Can you give me 24 hours? Just one day to process this and figure out how to protect my daughter?" The man who did this, his brother is the police chief, and his wife is on the school board. If you report this now, they'll make it disappear. Dr. Lewis studied my face for a long moment. 24 hours. She finally agreed. "But understand, I will be filing that report. Document everything you can in the meantime." Back home, Lily went straight to bed, exhausted from crying. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, creating encrypted folders and backing up every piece of evidence to multiple cloud services. Then I remembered something from a true crime podcast, recording apps disguised as other programs. I crept into Lily's room while she slept and installed one on her phone, hidden inside what looked like a calculator app. If Parker tried to contact her or corner her at school, I'd have proof. The next morning, Lily refused to get out of bed. "I can't see him, Dad. I can't sit in his class and pretend everything's normal." "You don't have to go today," I said, sitting on the edge of her bed. "I'll call you in sick." But skipping his class triggered something in Parker. By noon, Lily's phone was buzzing nonstop. I watched the messages roll in on the monitoring app I'd installed. They came from a number I didn't recognize, clearly a burner phone. "Where are you today? I'm worried about you, Lily. Please respond. You know how much I care. Your grade is suffering. You can't afford to miss my class. Don't do something you'll regret. Remember what we talked about." The messages shifted from concern to threatening over the course of hours. I screenshotted everything, my stomach churning with each notification. Lily stayed in her room, covers pulled over her head, trying to block it all out. That evening, I made a decision. I'm taking time off work. I told Lily over dinner. She barely touched her food. Family emergency. And I'm going to start volunteering at school. "No, Dad," Lily pleaded. "He'll know something's wrong." He'll what?" I asked gently. "Sweetheart, what is he threatening you with?" Lily pushed her food around her plate. "My grades. My future. He says I need his recommendation for high school honors programs, that he can make or break my academic career." The manipulation made me sick. He'd found exactly what mattered to my straight-A daughter and weaponized it against her. The next day, I started volunteering in the main office, filing papers and answering phones. It gave me the perfect vantage point to watch the hallways during third period, Parker's free period. I saw him texting furiously on his phone, and minutes later, Lily appeared in the hallway, walking slowly toward the music wing. I followed at a distance, my heart pounding. Parker met her by the empty orchestra room, glancing around before ushering her inside. I positioned myself where I could see through the door's window. He was showing her something on his phone, gesturing emphatically. Lily stood with her arms wrapped around herself, nodding mechanically at whatever he said. When she emerged 10 minutes later, her face was pale and drawn. I ducked into a supply closet before Parker could spot me, but I'd seen enough. He was still trying to control her, even now. That night, Lily's best friend Chloe called the house phone, something the girls never did anymore. "Mr. Carter, can I talk to you about Lily? She's scaring me." My heart jumped. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "She won't tell me what's wrong, but she's different. She cries in the bathroom between classes, and Mr. Parker keeps calling her to his desk during history. Last week, I saw him put his hand on her shoulder, and she just froze." "Chloe, would you and your mom be willing to come over tomorrow? I think we need to talk." Jenny arrived the next afternoon with Chloe, while Lily was at a doctor's appointment I'd scheduled. I showed them some of the evidence, not everything, but enough. Jenny's face went white. "Oh my God," she breathed. "He's been giving Chloe special attention too, asking her to stay after class, commenting on her outfits. I thought he was just being friendly." "Did he ever?" I couldn't finish the question. "No," Jenny said firmly. "But only because Chloe always made excuses to leave. She said he made her uncomfortable, but couldn't explain why." We agreed to work together. Jenny would document anything Chloe witnessed, and we coordinate our evidence. Two families were harder to silence than one. But Parker must have sensed the walls closing in. That evening, our doorbell rang at 8:30. Lily was doing homework at the kitchen table when I answered the door to find Parker himself standing on our porch, holding a folder. "Mr. Carter," he said with a practiced smile, "Lily left an important assignment at school. I thought I'd drop it by since it's worth a significant portion of her grade." "Thank you, but you can leave it with me," I said, not moving from the doorway. His smile faltered. "I'd really like to explain the assignment to Lily directly. It's quite complex." "That won't be necessary." We stared at each other for a long moment. His mask slipped just enough for me to see the calculation in his eyes. Then he handed me the folder. "Of course. Please make sure Lily understands the importance of completing all her work. Her future depends on maintaining her excellent academic record." The threat was clear. After he left, I found a note tucked inside the folder. "Lily's college recommendations depend on her continued excellence in all areas. Some mistakes can't be undone." Lily read it and burst into tears. "See? I told you he's going to ruin everything. You're making it worse. Baby, he's the one. I'm not a little kid," she screamed. "And now you're destroying my whole future." She ran to her room and slammed the door. I stood in the hallway shaking. He'd manipulated her so completely that she believed she was complicit, that she was equally responsible. The recording app showed she'd already texted him an apology for my behavior. I stared at my phone screen, watching Lily's apology text to Parker appear in the monitoring app. My hands trembled as I read his immediate response. Your father doesn't understand us. Meet me tomorrow morning before school. We need to discuss your future. Lily's reply came within seconds. Okay. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. and positioned myself in the kitchen where I could see Lily's movements. At 6:30, she crept downstairs, fully dressed in one of the outfits Parker had bought her. I pretended to be making coffee. You're up early, I said casually. She froze. Just wanted to get to school early. Work on a project. I'll drive you. No. The panic in her voice confirmed my suspicions. I mean, I'm fine walking. It's too early and too dark. I'm driving you. The car ride was silent. Lily stared out the window, her leg bouncing nervously. When we pulled up to school, I saw Parker's car already in the parking lot. Lily practically jumped out before I had fully stopped. Lily, wait! But she was already hurrying toward the building. I parked and followed, my volunteer badge ready. The halls were mostly empty this early. I heard voices from Parker's classroom and positioned myself outside, pretending to organize papers from my volunteer folder. Through the cracked door, I heard Parker's voice, low and urgent. Your father is becoming a problem. If he keeps interfering, I'll have no choice but to fail you this semester. You know what that means for your transcript. I know, Lily whispered. I'm sorry. I'll talk to him. Talk isn't enough anymore. I need you to delete our emails, all of them, today. My phone buzzed. The recording app was capturing everything. I forced myself to walk away before Parker discovered me. In the main office, I busied myself with filing while my mind raced. He was escalating, trying to destroy evidence. That afternoon, I watched Lily during lunch through the cafeteria windows. She sat alone, picking at her food. Chloe approached several times, but Lily waved her away. The isolation tactic, classic predator behavior. I'd seen it in every documentary we'd watched together. When Lily came home, she went straight to her laptop. Through the monitoring software I'd installed weeks ago, I watched her access the secret email account. My heart sank as she began deleting messages. But what she didn't know was that I'd already backed up everything to multiple cloud services, including ones that preserved deleted content. How was school? I asked, entering her room. She slammed the laptop shut. Fine. Lily, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. She stood up, clutching her laptop. You're ruining my life. Mr. Parker is the only teacher who believes in me, and you're destroying that. He's manipulating you, sweetheart. What he's doing isn't normal or okay. You don't understand anything. She pushed past me, heading for the bathroom. I heard the lock click. 20 minutes later, she emerged, pale and shaky. The morning sickness was getting worse. I'd made another doctor's appointment for tomorrow, this time with an OB/GYN who specialized in young patients. Dr. Lewis had recommended her, someone outside Parker's sphere of influence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking the recording app, watching for new messages. Around 2 a.m., one appeared from the burner number. You did well today. Remember, our secret keeps you special. Delete this. Lily deleted it immediately, but I had the screenshot. The next morning, I told Lily we had a doctor's appointment. She protested, but I insisted. Dr. Martinez was gentle and professional, confirming the pregnancy was approximately 6 weeks along. She discussed options carefully, emphasizing that Lily had choices and time to decide. Lily sat silent through it all, arms wrapped around her middle. In the parking lot afterward, she finally spoke. He said if I told anyone, he'd make sure I never got into honors programs. He said he'd tell everyone I seduced him, that I threw myself at him. I pulled her into a hug. None of this is your fault. None of it. But I did throw myself at him. She sobbed. I wore the outfits he bought me. I met him during his free periods. I sent him pictures. You're 13. He's an adult in a position of power. This is on him, not you. We sat in the car for an hour while Lily cried. She told me about the gradual progression, how it started with compliments about her intelligence, then special attention, then gifts, then requests for photos just for him, then meetings in empty classrooms. How he told her she was mature enough to handle an adult relationship, that age was just a number when souls connected. I recorded it all on my phone, with Lily's permission. Evidence, always evidence. When we got home, Jenny was waiting on her porch with Chloe. "We need to talk," she said urgently. Chloe twisted her hands nervously. "Mr. Parker had another girl in his classroom during lunch, a 7th grader. He was giving her a gift box, just like the ones he used to give Lily." My blood ran cold. He was already grooming his next victim. "Her name's Mia," Chloe continued. "She's in my sister's grade. She's been bragging about how Mr. Parker thinks she's special." Lily would rigid beside me. "He said I was the only one," she whispered. Jenny and I exchanged glances. This was bigger than just Lily. How many girls had there been? How many would there be? "We need to warn her parents," Jenny said. "They won't believe us," I replied. "Not without proof. And if Parker finds out we're talking to other families, he's already suspicious." Lily said quietly, "Today he asked me if I'd been talking to anyone about us. He said he has friends who tell him things." The next few days were a careful dance. I continued volunteering, watching Parker's movements. Jenny documented everything Chloe observed. Lily went to school, attended his class, and pretended everything was normal while the recording app captured every interaction. Then Thursday happened. I was filing papers in the main office when the principal's secretary asked me to deliver something to the music wing. As I walked down the empty hallway, I heard voices from the orchestra room. The door was slightly open. "You're very special, Mia." I recognized Parker's voice immediately. "Not many students have your potential." I peered through the crack and saw him sitting too close to a young girl on the piano bench, his hand on her shoulder. She looked uncomfortable, but was trying to smile. I raised my phone and started recording video through the crack. Parker was showing her something on his phone, photos of jewelry, just like he'd done with Lily. The girl shifted away slightly, but he moved closer. "These could be yours if you're willing to work for them. Private tutoring sessions, just you and me." My hand shook as I recorded. This was evidence of patterned behavior, exactly what we needed. I backed away quietly and hurried to the bathroom, where I immediately uploaded the video to multiple cloud services. That afternoon, Lily came home in tears. "He knows something's wrong. He kept staring at me during class, and afterward, he told me I seemed distant. He wants to meet tomorrow during his free period to reconnect." "You're not going," I said firmly. "If I don't, he'll fail me. He already gave me a D on my last essay, and it was perfect. I worked on it for hours." I looked at the essay. She was right. It was excellent work. He'd marked it down for lacking depth and failing to grasp core concepts, complete fabrications designed to control her. That night, I made a decision. I called Jenny. "We need more parents. If it's just us, they can dismiss us as hysterical. But if multiple families come forward..." Chloe mentioned that her friend Grace said Parker made her uncomfortable last year. Maybe her parents would talk to us. We spent the weekend carefully reaching out. 3 more families agreed to meet with us. 2 had daughters who had received gifts and special attention from Parker. 1 had already transferred her daughter to another school because of weird vibes from him. Monday morning, Lily woke up violently ill. The morning sickness was getting worse, and the stress wasn't helping. I kept her home, which triggered another barrage of texts from Parker's burner phone. "Your absence is noted. This will affect your grade. Ignoring me is childish, Lily. I expected better from you. You have until end of day to respond, or I'll have to take formal action." The threats escalated throughout the day. By evening, he'd sent a formal email to my account, copying the principal, expressing concern about Lily's sudden behavioral changes and declining academic performance. He suggested a parent-teacher conference to discuss her troubling trajectory. I responded professionally, agreeing to a conference but insisting it include the principal and guidance counselor. Parker immediately backtracked, saying he preferred to handle things privately first. Tuesday, Lily returned to school. I watched from my volunteer post as she walked to his classroom. Through the window, I saw him gesture for her to approach his desk while other students filed in. He leaned close, speaking quietly. Lily nodded mechanically and returned to her seat. The recording app later showed he told her, "Your father's making things difficult. If you request that conference with administration, I'll have to share some concerns about your behavior. The photos you sent me, for instance. The administration takes a dim view of students who pursue teachers." The victim blaming made me sick, but it also made me more determined. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. The school nurse called me. "Mr. Carter, Lily collapsed in P class. We've called an ambulance." I raced to the hospital, my heart pounding. Lily was conscious but pale, hooked up to 4 fluids. The doctor explained she was dehydrated and showing signs of severe stress. Blood tests confirmed the pregnancy and showed concerning hormone levels. "She needs to avoid stress," the doctor said. "Whatever's going on, it's affecting her physical health." Lily squeezed my hand. "I can't do this anymore, Dad. I can't pretend everything's okay. I can't sit in his class knowing." She touched her stomach lightly. That's when I knew we couldn't wait any longer. Parker's psychological torture was literally making my daughter sick. But I also knew we needed one more piece of evidence, something undeniable, even his connections couldn't explain away. "Lily," I said carefully, "would you be willing to wear a wire?" She looked at me with frightened eyes. "What do you mean?" "Just a small recording device. If he says anything incriminating, he's too careful during school. He only says things when you're alone. Then we create that opportunity, but safely, with me nearby." Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay. But how?" "I've been thinking about this. You'll ask to meet him at the coffee shop on Main Street, a public place, lots of witnesses. Tell him you need to talk about your grades, that you're worried about your future. I'll be at the next table. He won't like meeting in public. Then he'll suggest an alternative. Either way, we'll have him on recording, making that suggestion." We went home that night with a plan. Lily texted Parker from her regular phone, the one he didn't know I was monitoring. "Can we talk? I'm really worried about my grades. Could we meet at the coffee shop after school tomorrow?" His response was immediate. "Coffee shops are too public. Come to my classroom after school. My dad is picking me up right after school. Coffee shop is the only time I can meet." There was a long pause. Then, "Fine. 4 p.m. Come alone." I had Jenny stationed in the coffee shop by 3:30, pretending to work on her laptop. I arrived at 3:45, sitting 2 tables away with my back to Lily's meeting spot. Lily walked in at exactly 4 p.m., wearing the small recording device I'd purchased online. Parker arrived 5 minutes late, scanning the shop carefully before sitting down. I could hear their conversation through the earpiece connected to Lily's wire. "This is highly inappropriate, Lily," he began. "Meeting like this could be misunderstood. I'm just worried about my grades," Lily said, her voice shaky but determined. "You said my last essay was terrible, but I worked really hard on it. Your work has been declining since you started pulling away from me. You know what you need to do to fix this." "What do you mean?" I heard him sigh impatiently. "Don't play dumb, Lily. You were so eager before, so willing. Now you act like what we have is wrong. My dad says your father is poisoning your mind. What we have is special. Age doesn't matter when 2 souls connect. You said you understood that." "I'm 13, Lily said quietly. "Age is just a number. You're mature for your age. That's why I chose you." My hands clenched into fists. He just admitted to choosing her, to pursuing her. "But the baby," Lily started. "What baby?" His voice turned sharp. "Lily, what are you talking about?" There was silence. I could hear Lily's rapid breathing through the wire. "Answer me, Parker," he demanded. "What baby?" "I'm pregnant," Lily whispered. I heard a chair scrape. Through my peripheral vision, I saw Parker lean across the table. "You're lying," he hissed. "You're trying to trap me." "I'm not lying." The doctor confirmed it. "Then you'll take care of it. I'll pay for it. No one needs to know. I already told my dad." Parker's hand shot across the table, grabbing Lily's wrist. "You did what?" "Let go," Lily said louder now. "You're hurting me. Do you have any idea what you've done? My career, my family, Let go of her. I stood up, turning to face them. Parker released Lily's wrist, his face cycling through shock, rage, and calculation. Red marks were already forming on Lily's skin where he gripped her. "This is a setup," he said, standing. "You're trying to frame me." "Frame you for what?" I asked calmly. "For pursuing my 13-year-old daughter? For getting her pregnant? For threatening her grades if she didn't comply?" Other customers were staring now. Jenny had her phone out, recording everything. Parker noticed and took a step back. "I'll have your daughter expelled," he said quietly. "I'll make sure she never gets into any decent school. I'll ruin both of you." "Try it," I said. "We have everything, the emails, the texts, the gifts, the recordings. Everything." His face went pale. Without another word, he turned and left the coffee shop. Lily collapsed against me, sobbing. I held her tight while Jenny called the police, not the local department, but the state police. We'd bypassed Parker's brother entirely. That night, Lily's wrist had bruised into a clear handprint. I photographed it from every angle. The recording from the wire was crystal clear. Parker admitting to choosing her, telling her age didn't matter, trying to pressure her into terminating the pregnancy, threatening us. But I knew this was far from over. Parker had too much to lose. He would fight back with everything he had. And Lily was already paying the price, both physically and emotionally. The real battle was just beginning. The next morning, the state police arrived at our house. 2 detectives, both women, sat across from me in the living room, while Lily stayed in her bedroom, resting. I handed over everything, the emails, texts, screenshots, recordings, gifts, even the deleted content preserved in my cloud backups. They listened intently, their faces unreadable but professional. "This is strong evidence," Detective Alvarez said finally, flipping through the printed transcripts of Parker's messages and recordings. "But he's not going down without a fight. Men like him are used to skirting consequences." "I know," I replied, gripping my coffee mug tightly. "That's why we need to move fast before he destroys more evidence, or worse, targets another girl." Detective Kim nodded. "We'll start with an arrest warrant based on what you provided. But we also need statements from other victims or witnesses. If there are other girls involved, we can build a stronger case against him." I thought about Mia, the 7th grader Parker had been grooming, and the families Jenny and I had connected with over the weekend. "There are others," I told them. "At least 3 more girls who received similar attention from him. And one family transferred their daughter out of his class last year because they felt something was off." "That helps," Alvarez said. "We'll reach out to those families discreetly. In the meantime, we'll coordinate with Child Protective Services to ensure Lily's safety. Given her pregnancy and the psychological toll this situation has taken on her, she may qualify for special accommodations." After the detectives left, I went to check on Lily. She was curled up in bed, staring blankly at the wall. Her wrist still bore the angry red marks where Parker had grabbed her, a stark reminder of the danger she'd been in and might still face. "Hey, sweetheart," I said softly, sitting beside her. "The police are handling it now. They're going to arrest him." She didn't respond right away. Finally, she whispered, "What if he gets away with it? What if no one believes us?" "They will," I promised, brushing her hair back gently. "We have too much proof. And other families are coming forward too. You're not alone in this." Lily turned to look at me, her eyes filled with tears. "Why did he pick me, Dad? Why did he do this?" "He picked you because he thought you were vulnerable," I said carefully. "Because he saw someone smart, kind, and trusting, and he manipulated that trust. None of this is your fault, Lily. He's the adult. He's supposed to protect you, not hurt you." She nodded faintly, but I could see the weight of everything pressing down on her. No amount of reassurance could erase what she'd been through. All I could do was be there for her, every step of the way. Later that day, the news broke. The state police executed a search warrant at Parker's home and office, seizing computers, phones, and files. His wife, sitting on the school board, was reportedly blindsided, claiming ignorance of her husband's actions. His brother, the police chief, released a terse statement saying he would recuse himself from any involvement in the investigation. By evening, local media outlets had picked up the story. Parents were outraged, demanding answers from the school administration. How had Parker evaded scrutiny for so long? Who else had turned a blind eye? Jenny texted me updates throughout the day. Chloe's friend Grace had agreed to speak to the police about Parker's behavior toward her last year. Another mother revealed that her daughter had confided in her about feeling uncomfortable around Parker months ago, but she hadn't known how to act on it until now. The web of complicity was unraveling. Still, I couldn't shake the fear that Parker's connections might find a way to shield him. That night, as Lily slept fitfully beside me, I scrolled through news articles and social media posts about the case. Public outrage was growing, but public opinion could shift quickly. One misstep, one piece of missing evidence, and Parker could walk free. The following morning, Detective Alvarez called. "We arrested Parker early today," she said. "He's being held without bail pending charges of statutory rape, sexual misconduct, and endangering the welfare of a minor. We're also investigating potential charges related to other students." Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. "What happens next?" I asked. "We'll present the case to the district attorney later this week. With the evidence you've gathered, and the additional testimonies from other families, we believe we have a solid foundation for prosecution." However, Parker's legal team is already pushing back, trying to discredit the evidence and paint him as a victim of a misunderstanding. "A misunderstanding?" I repeated incredulously. "He got my 13-year-old daughter pregnant." "I understand your frustration," Alvarez said calmly. "But these cases often become battles of perception. That's why it's crucial for Lily, and the other victims, to stay strong and consistent. Their voices matter most." When I hung up, I went to wake Lily. She needed to hear the news directly from me. As I gently shook her shoulder, she stirred and blinked groggily. "Dad? Parker's been arrested," I said. "They're charging him with multiple crimes. It's a big step forward." For the first time in weeks, a flicker of hope crossed her face. "Does that mean he won't hurt anyone else?" "It means we're closer to making sure he never can," I said, pulling her into a hug. "But there's still a lot ahead of us. Trials, lawyers, questions." "Are you ready for that?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I want him to pay for what he did." Over the next few weeks, the case dominated headlines. Parents demanded accountability from the school board, which led to several resignations, including Parker's wife. The superintendent announced sweeping reforms to prevent future abuses of power, including mandatory training for staff and stricter oversight of teacher-student interactions. Meanwhile, Lily began seeing a therapist specializing in trauma recovery. At first, she resisted, insisting she was fine, but the nightmares and panic attacks convinced her otherwise. Slowly, she started opening up about the shame and guilt she carried. Watching her struggle broke my heart, but I reminded myself that healing wouldn't happen overnight. As the trial date approached, the prosecutor's office worked tirelessly to prepare our case. They assured us that the mountain of evidence we collected, combined with testimony from multiple victims, made conviction likely. Still, nothing was guaranteed. Parker's defense team spared no expense, hiring high-profile attorneys who specialized in dismantling cases like ours. On the morning of the trial, Lily and I walked into the courthouse hand in hand. Reporters swarmed outside, shouting questions we ignored. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Other families sat scattered throughout the gallery, united by shared pain and purpose. When Parker entered the courtroom, flanked by his lawyers, Lily stiffened beside me. He glanced briefly in our direction, his expression unreadable. For a moment, I feared he might try to intimidate us, but instead, he focused on whispering to his counsel. The trial lasted 2 grueling weeks. Each day brought new revelations: emails detailing Parker's predatory behavior, recordings of his manipulative conversations, expert testimony explaining the psychology of grooming. Witnesses took the stand, recounting stories eerily similar to Lily's. By the end, even some of Parker's staunchest defenders seemed shaken. Finally, the jury deliberated for 3 days. When the verdict came in, the courtroom fell silent. Guilty on all counts. Lily gripped my hand tightly as the judge read the sentence: 20 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for 10. Tears streamed down her face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, of justice served. In the months that followed, life slowly began to feel normal again, or as close to normal as it could be. Lily returned to school, though she opted for online classes rather than facing classmates who knew her story. She continued therapy and started journaling, using writing as a way to process her emotions. For me, the experience changed everything. I became an advocate for survivors of abuse, working with local organizations to educate parents and schools about recognizing signs of grooming and exploitation. Together with Jenny and other affected families, we pushed for legislation strengthening protections for minors in educational settings. One evening, as Lily and I sat on the couch watching a movie, she leaned her head against my shoulder. "Do you think I'll ever feel okay again?" she asked quietly. "Yes," I said, kissing the top of her head. "It won't happen overnight, but you will. And no matter what, I'll always be here for you." She smiled faintly, and for the first time in a long time, it reached her eyes. Despite everything, we had each other, and sometimes that was enough.